Hello, this is week 11 of 13-week fiscal program for American Prisoners of War. My name is Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Quietwater, Chief Alligator, as well as Chief Blackcoat. And here we focus more so on the first letter in the acronym APOW, which is American. And starting off, we will have Chief Quietwater with the 12 steps. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, so step number 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step number 2, who established that estate? Number 3, what tribe and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European? Number 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend what's your position or on reparations. Number 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3, in addition to field trips to APOW landmarks in that city, county, and state are needed. Number 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Number 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, like gas stations, nail salons, subways, corner stores. Number 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American businesses. Number 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash just to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our club services, products, and entertainment. Number 10, the U.S. government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the Gold Standard Act. The government operates off full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American prisoners of war no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Number 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. Have them learn about an American inventor. Have them know about our heroes. They should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to the European invasion, militarily and culturally. And number 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming America, and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Every estate American prisoners of war live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This, in 13 weeks, 1 fiscal quarter, will bring us together for our common cause.
Thank you, Chief Quietwater. Next, we will have Chief Blackcoat with the American inventor for this week.
All right, guys, how y'all doing? Let me see what Chief Blackcoat got for, or Chief Biko got for me. All right, so some troubles finding his brother's name. We talked about the Seminole Wars. We spoke about the Seminole Wars before, but Mr. Spears has the patent number being 110599. Date being 12/27/1870. That's 12/27/1870. So Mr. Spears has the patent for the portable shield for infantry. I can kind of relate to that invention, meaning something to protect pretty much the torso or the body, head and below, no below the belt line. But Mr. Spears has that patent number from Europeans understanding what's going on American land, the patent number for the actual infantry shield, meaning in battle, a shield that will protect you from whatever they were fighting with at these times in 1870, from damage or bleeding out, wound punctures. He invented the shield, and that would be Mr. Spears. Searched for his first name, can't find it. That sucks, but yeah, Mr. Spears is pretty much known for his spear. Today, today, we know police force, anytime there's a riot or anytime there is a warrant being served, they will go inside with a shield. today, what is it made out of? I don't know, bulletproof glass, whatever. But date per the European, December 27th, 1870, they found out that there's something out there that could protect the torso and head from puncturing or damage. That's all I got.
What percentage of income do we receive for that invention?
I would assume this is probably something that's used a lot as far as the infantry goes, which this patent is referring to, meaning military. And then you have your police force around the world, 0%. If so, we would know his name.
Oh.
And then the name being Spears, but 0%.
That was a good one.
Thank you, Chief Blackcoat.
Yeah.
Next, we'll have Chief Quietwater, or is it Chief Alligator? Were you doing the quote?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do quote 12 off the Dr. Carter G. Woodson quotes. Man, this just rings a bell. This just says to me, we never forecast, we never look into the future and then come back to the present and work toward the future. Quote 12, the Negro in his present plight, however, does not see possibilities until it is too late. He exercises much hindsight, and for that reason, he loses ground in the hotly contested battles of life. The Negro, as a rule, waits until a thing happens before he tries to avert it. We're strictly reactionary people.
Yeah.
And that's a tough pill that I'm trying to swallow today. I know we are more different than anybody or any other race, whether it come from your science or your movies. You can see melanin does something different. So to be able to take on what we take on day-to-day basis, it's quite incredible. Anybody else would have lost their mind. But like you said, we're different. We're just different.
Imagine if we planned ahead, like you're saying, exercise much hindsight, but not a lot of foresight. So forecast into the future where we want to be. This will be over. This will be over. We think, generations, decades for a plan, but if we actually put effort into that foresight, this may be a decade before, and then we can have it back just like that.
Right.
Based off of what we've already been doing from practicing, hindsight. So
Right.
Great quote there, great quote.
That's funny you say that. Just to throw in, that's why we say 13 weeks. Because we're aware that we don't plan ahead. So we're saying, can we at least start planning ahead for 90 days? Because if you look at the news, it's always after something happens, then we report it. Right? It's always after we get screwed over, then we want to report on it. Can we just get in the habit of just looking out 90 days? Hey, we want to be here by the end of March if we was in January.
Fresh ideas.
No leadership.
Start with legal definitions. One, American, indigenous to America.
Right back.
Two, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna step away for 1 second. You good?
Got you. Two, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either lineally or collaterally. Three, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Four, prisoner of war, person, usually a soldier who is captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Five, school, any institution at which instruction is given in a particular discipline. And six, education, an enlightening experience. The 5 historical Maroon points. The first one was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense came first. 3, Maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, Maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. And number 5, Maroons knew their European enemies' language, defenses, and plans. So again, we are out of alignment by practicing hindsight and not foresight, because just based off those Maroon historical points, in order to know something, you have to be able to plan for these things, like knowing your European enemies' languages, defenses, and plans. That took planning in itself.
Mhm.
So definitely have to get back to that. Last but not least, we'll jump into the Constitution. Our constitutional readings. Go ahead and share my screen. So Article 1, Section 10. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So underneath this Constitution, the only thing that is payable for debts, or the only thing that is really considered money, and everything else is a derivative of it, is gold and silver. But gold and silver is the only thing that is actually payable or actual payment of debts. Jump down to Article 6. And Article 6 reads here, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So again, this is basically saying that the treaty is the supreme law of the land, and that everybody underneath that, underneath this government, has to abide by that. So whether it's your judges, your municipal courts, anything like that that falls underneath that judicial branch, definitely has to look up to the supreme law of the land, which is the treaty.
Chibico, one second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna black myself out as well real quick.
Okay.
Only for a few minutes, and I'm gonna come back in.
Gotcha.
All right. Appreciate you.
As we see here, Section 2 or Article 2, Section 2, the president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states. So again, the president, aka the commander-in-chief, has the ability to call upon the Army, the Navy, as well as the militia of several states. So this is one thing that was highlighted during President Trump's administration, when in Seattle, I believe, people were saying these unrecognizable men jumping out these vans and stringing people up. That was definitely the militia, and it was called upon by the president at that time, President Trump, aka the commander-in-chief at that time. So just again, understanding this system's structure. And I think we had one more I wanted to jump into, Congress. And that is that Congress has the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. So Congress is the only one that actually has the power to actually declare any war. And we know this was not done during this so-called Civil War. That's why we continue to reiterate that it was a civil rebellion. And also, this is exactly what the presidents at that time, during that time period, classified it as, a rebellion. So anything outside of that would be incorrect. So now we will jump into where we left off last weekend with the Special Field Order number 15. And I believe we stopped on, what was it, Article 3 or Section 3 rather?
Correct.
Okay. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and jump off the porch with it. Whenever 3 respectable Negroes, heads of families, shall desire to settle on land and shall have selected for that purpose an island or a locality clearly defined within the limits above designated, the inspector of settlements and plantations will himself or by such subordinate officers as he may appoint, give them a license to settle such island or district. So just stopping right here, again, using terms that we have not seen since the Civil Rebellion. So basically not seeing anything regarding Negroes in the 13th through 15th Amendment, not seeing anything regarding Negroes in the Freedmen's Bureau, not seeing anything regarding Negroes in the Amnesty Proclamation nor the 1866 Civil Rights Act. So again, this is coming from a general, AKA a customer service rep, just to make it plain English or in layman's terms. This is not coming from a CEO, which would be the president or commander in chief. So again, why do our people like to cling on to these documents such as this that specify who they're talking to and specify certain lands? But again, this isn't coming from the correct chain of command. I just want to highlight there, heads of families. These families, people are tribes. Heads of tribes, which connected to a nation. They use the term Negro, as Chief Blackcoat kind of alluded to last week. Negro kind of coming off as a hard-headed, somebody who's not listening.
A new term, a new Negro. We never seen this type of Negro or
at all.
Alluded that word into it, right?
Correct. Being stubborn, not being able to be controlled. So those of our family members that went west of the Mississippi, they were easily converted to Indians, another term that they just poofed up out of nowhere. But the family that was majority, as we saw last week, majority of families still east of the Mississippi, is like, okay, we can't call them the Indians, we can't call them the Americans, they're stubborn, let's call them Negroes. But again, these quote unquote Negroes are actually Americans and heads of family tribes. And whichever land they shall desire, which they've already been occupying, now has to be given a license through the inspector or their subordinate officers. So now this is where you're coming into not having ownership of where you've already been established. So again, it kind of rhymes with having a title on your home or vehicle, having to have a license to operate said vehicle or operate within any type of jurisdiction. So you can see the control being placed upon our people within this document. Anybody else want to piggyback off of that?
Yeah, you broke that down really good. It just shows you where, like you said, where they basically started appointing a license for operating something that already belonged to them, but they put, an inspector over someone else's belongings, basically to just start imposing more control, basically is what they did.
Right. Yep. Shout out to Chief Biko. What I heard was, this is a new Indian. What should we call it?
Pretty much. It just re-emphasizes
or whatever they my bad.
Military occupation, because again, they couldn't beat up our ancestors in this particular area. We saw
infiltrate industries.
Correct. They couldn't get inside. They couldn't get into these particular areas. If they did, the only ones that should have been even around them needed what? Weaponry, or needed to be soldiers. So again, just highlights that military occupation. I'll continue here and afford them.
Hold on one second. That first sentence where you said whenever 3 respectable Negroes, I'm gonna replace that with businessmen, right? Or like you said, chiefs. It further just, to me, screams out military occupation, because what they're saying is anytime we get 3 male Negroes or 3 respectable Negroes, who are they? We got to account for them, and we have to make them register through the inspector of settlements and plantations or through a subordinate officer. So I'm seeing a parallel with the census as well as this document, the only way you can head count a group of people is through military.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're accounting. If you come 3 deep, they're gonna tag you and put you under their War Department. You're gonna go under the War Department because this is a general saying this. So it just further shows how we got into this predicament. They were accounting for us through their military.
Right.
Great point out.
Just real quick, Chief Biko, if you don't mind. What Chief Alligator said was the only way you could account was through a military. So these are guys coming in with a goal, with a plan, with an execution, understanding we got to count these heads. How many people in this area? It doesn't matter what they have as far as defense and what the European army has as defense. The mission is count heads.
Yeah, get a number.
So whatever we can get, that's what we're going to account for. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Makes sense. Makes sense. What did we leave off of? Okay. And afford them such assistance as he can to enable them to establish a peaceable agricultural settlement, as if they haven't already. So again, just kind of showing that we're allowing you all to do it, even though that's not the case. They've already had these things set in stone, these industries established already. The 3 parties, again, referring back to the 3 respectable Negroes, the 3 respectable Americans, head of tribes, families. The 3 parties named will subdivide the land under the supervision of the inspector among themselves and such others as may choose to settle near them, so that each family shall have a plot of not more than 40 acres of tillable ground. So I'll stop right there before we jump into it. So again, that term that we like to cling on to, 40 acres in a mule, 40 acres of tillable ground. So again, just showing how the inspector will be the one to help establish or point out to the military, okay, these are the 3 parties. Let's go ahead and get a head count. We can't do anything with them physically, but let's just see if we can account for them as far as the head so we can go back and plan accordingly. Again, going back to the Freedmen's Bureau, showing again, those 40 acres being carved out around our people, going back to 1866 Civil Rights Act, those people that they put around our people in those 40 acres, okay, y'all want to stay here permanently? We'll deputize you. Somebody, one of those Americans came in and did something to you all's daughter or your kid. I'm deputizing you, deputizing all of you all, giving you all the ability to go ahead and seek justice on your own.
Not even seeking justice, just outright
killing. Yeah.
You feel me? We don't.
Straight up murder.
We can play the U.S. government game. We gotta understand we came from another country, another continent, another landmass that was treating us like shit. Now we get a chance to treat somebody else like shit and act like it's ours because we got the military backing us.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Mm-hmm.
What's new? Y'all got refrigerators?
Looking at this inspector. This inspector is a fancy word to me as spy. Basically, he's just a spy for the military. He's going to be what they're making it. They're making the Americans report to them because they're always looking at us as the enemy. We're not accounting for them. We're doing, and I think this even plays into today. We're so used to just being God's children as we are. We don't realize that these parasites, they're watching us at all times. So that word inspector,
manipulative
spy.
Great point.
That's a great point.
Kind of even goes back to.
That's a beautiful point.
What skin tone is this inspector too?
Well, you know he's European because he's associated with their military.
But they'll pretend to be nice.
Not necessarily though. I'll give some pushback because I'm thinking on how we kind of piggybacked on last week when that recruiter office
Mhm.
would say, yeah, you know, I'm one of y'all come in, get
Mhm.
citizenship, send them over to don't even gotta be to another continent or another nation. Just send them over into California or the West Coast. They come back home, the city's destroyed.
Well,
That-
here's one issue with that. We're not citizens at this point under their government. So if you're not a citizen, then they're not going to let you be inspector of settlements and plantations. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you can
100%.
garrison forts.
This
and
shit in order. That's what I always want us to always understand. If this is a European invasion, before they invaded, this shit was planned out. So now it's just time to execute. If you mess it up on the west, if you mess it up on the east, cool. We got the north and the south. But my bad, Chief Alligator. I just kind of wanted to allude to that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of our history overall up into the Vietnam War. You know, you didn't have officers in their military. Like, it's too many stories of us being in their military and you was just relegated to janitorial work or you was in infantry, right? So if we rolling it back to the 1860s, why would they let one of us be the inspector of settlements and plantations?
Just think of it as our family to the west. We were fighting them. They broke away from the family. So that's how I'm thinking, like one of them they brought over. Yeah, I'm just like you guys. We're good. Because I'm just thinking on that level, like
where did the confusion come from?
Correct. I can't imagine one white lonely ass inspector. Of course, they may have their military, but we see that it's on site, regardless. So you think we gonna let a goddamn white man just come and count heads? I don't give a fuck how nice you are. We said last week we on site with it. So that's just how I'm thinking. Like, okay, we already know some of the Cherokee that went west into the in the quote unquote Indian territory were working with the military, working with the government.
Okay, so
are we gonna say working?
They'll make him a subordinate officer. I can see what you're saying as him being a subordinate officer. I can't see him being inspector of settlements.
Got you.
Yeah, but I get what you said. Yeah, you could be a subordinate officer. Go over there. We got 3 distinguished Negroes that's trying to do some business. Who are they? And that's from a military standpoint. What are they doing? Let's get their name.
Accounting.
Yeah. Correct.
Don't ever look like we apart. It's just always gonna be, what are they doing over there?
Yep.
Fact. No, great point. Great point for everybody. Let me see if this next one.
And that even rhymes to today. Just last interjection. Even today, I think they got all these. Well, now you got Big Brother, which is just digital technology on all these different street poles and stuff in different neighborhoods. You got a European that'll just sit there and watch. Oh, okay, we got 3 men on that corner right there. They're always watching what we do because we've forgotten we're at war. That's what it's down to. We forgot we're at war.
They're watching.
Can we stop the live right there? I mean,
we watching the pattern.
Right.
Because if we go forward, we got to go backwards. Man, hey, Chief Alligator, when we started doing this whole thing, and I know we live, when we started doing this whole thing, when you said the war never ended, it never ended.
Right.
You thinking that somebody got bled out or diseased out? Come on now. Pen and paper can make a whole new. But with that being said, the war never ended. When it's still being here today, it's kind of just
think of war as, you know,
it's so much to add to that piece. The war never ended. We in it.
And we are just so oblivious to that fact right there. We oblivious to it.
We want to be so
think
smart.
Everything is good.
We want to be so smart. We want to be so oh, I get it. No, nigga, don't get shit. No, this shit is real.
Think of it like you said, when you said the theater. We think war is bullets flying.
Right.
It's Cold Wars too. Like you just alluded to, it's war on drugs. These different names that they go up underneath it. And
the invisible war.
Correct. So great point out.
That we all made it through.
And it's the propaganda at this point because they'll put somebody who looks like us on TV And even though you've been traumatized, i.e. George Floyd with the knee on the neck, those people who look like us will be paid to get in front of the masses of us and say, okay, let's move on from that. Let's get back to normal, to make you forget that you're being warred against. And these people are your enemies. And I'm saying this now, these people are your enemies because you never talk about organizing in order to put up a defense. It's obvious at this point. You will do everything except tell the people it's time for us to organize and put up a defense. So it's almost like these mass media personalities who they put in front of us, their job is to make us suffer peacefully.
No defense. I didn't have nothing to say after what Chief Alligator had to say.
No, that's true.
Yeah, no defense. Talk your shit, nigga.
No,
but don't go yay crazy.
Yeah. I'll continue here.
Because now that's an army versus army. My bad, Chibico. My bad, Chibico.
Oh, you good. You good. 40 acres on tillable land, I believe it said, on some water channel with not more than 800 feet front, in the possession of which land the military authorities will afford them protection until such time as they can protect themselves, or until Congress shall regulate their title. So again, just showing the hypocrisy, trying to make it seem like they're giving us this land and protecting our people when we know that's not the case.
What are we talking about?
Occupying, surrounding them, and like you said, just getting head counts of them until they're able to protect themselves.
Well, the general, he's contradicting himself because in the previous section, he said no white person whatsoever, unless military. Now he's trying to say, oh, we're providing protection in this section until you can protect yourself. Now, clearly we could already protect ourselves. That's why he didn't want no white person in there that wasn't military, because you're gonna get killed.
Correct. Correct.
And then regulate their title. Here's another thing that we have to look at. Can somebody pull up a legal dictionary and look up absolute title? We're going to see that come up as Chief Biko is reading. There's a thing called absolute title that he's going to use in this document. Because we got to remember, they were burning records. They were burning our ancestors' records. So if they don't have the record, now you have to get this certificate of title from their government, which allows them to generate a perpetual amount of revenue forever for you occupying that land. So you're paying a property tax forever on land that you never paid tax to occupy before you were military occupied. So you're actually financing their government to oppression.
It's still right, but it's still
financing your oppression.
You're financing your own goddamn oppression.
But the only way you're financing it is because what? Who rolling up in these towns with guns and loaded saying, hey, where my tax at?
Right.
There's plenty of movies out there showing you how it went.
Yeah.
These niggas didn't give a fuck what they was asking for, but it did matter when you got barrels at your children's face.
What, somebody got a definition of absolute title?
I have it here. Absolute title, a property title that gives an unequivocal right of ownership to the owner and any buyers to whom the property is sold.
Unequivocal, huh? What that mean? I don't know. What do you mean?
Unequivocal.
Sound like unequal.
Leaving no doubt.
Okay.
So basically an absolute title is the true title of what it goes directly to the land, basically. So you can transfer that title, and every time it's transferred, that means it can be traced back to the original owner.
Correct. So we can see how now we operate under a world where there's no money. So the government is lying to all its citizens at this point, because gold and silver is the only thing that's money. And so they've hoarded all the gold and silver, give you fiat to operate with on a day-to-day basis. And so everything is a certificate. You have nothing absolute. You don't own anything.
Unequivocal.
You don't own anything. She just read the
Unchallenged.
definition of what an absolute title is. That's my shit. Period,
Yep.
point blank, end of discussion. A certificate of title means you don't own it. Why? You don't pay the taxes on it.
It's a I gave it to you. How can you own it if I had to present it to you that it's yours?
Which
It's
goes
my
back
shit.
to what what
lie.
Chief Biko was saying before in regards to on the page before, you were saying the license to
Occupy
the
the
land. Right.
Right. So the government's going to have absolute title. They'll just give you a license to occupy.
Right. So this is where that game started right here.
Military occupation.
Yep. License to sell and everything.
Right
Opportunity
into
to,
existence that this is whatever they believe in. Just write it. Okay.
Mhm. The quartermaster may, on the requisition of the inspector of settlements and plantations, place at the disposal of the inspector one or more of the captured steamers to ply between the settlements and one or more of the commercial points hereunto named in orders, to afford the settlers the opportunity to supply their necessary wants and to sell the products of their land and labor. So again, basically saying that the inspector will give the American steamers in order to actually conduct trade on these water channels. That's what I'm getting here from this last section in section 3.
Quartermaster.
If somebody can look up the definition of quartermaster real quick, so we can get a clear understanding of what a quartermaster is, because
And I can
he's
just
okay. Go ahead.
no go ahead, Chief Chief Alligator. My bad.
No, go ahead. I don't know what the definition is.
No, just quartermasters. That's a military term.
Okay.
Somebody that's in charge of finding you bedding and clothing.
Boom.
That is-
Military occupation.
Yeah.
So they're telling you right here that the quartermaster may, on the requisition of the inspector of settlements, meaning if the inspector of settlements doesn't go to the quartermaster ain't gonna do shit. But if the inspector goes to the quartermaster, then the quartermaster can place at the disposal of the inspector one or more of the captured steamers. Who had the steamer? We did. So you captured our steamer.
Wow.
Sell it
Then
back
you're gonna
to
turn around and use our own equipment in order to ply between settlements and one or more of the commercial points hereto named in orders. So they've already, come on, man.
That is some game for your ass.
Mhm. Facts.
Like Chief Alligator said, May.
Yeah.
He's pretending to be you. Like,
Right.
you got a gun in your face, and he's saying, "Get down and act like you don't even know what the fuck you are or who you are. I'm the new you." Like, it's ridiculous. The more we continue to dive into this.
Come on with the quartermaster. I ain't mean to stop you, Bill. What's the definition of a quarter? Well, what is a quartermaster?
It's exactly what he
Quartermaster
said. A military
military.
officer responsible for providing quarters, rations, clothing, and other supplies.
Yeah, it's
Boom.
your quartermaster.
Boom.
Just find you somewhere to sleep. Yeah.
Wow. So he's responsible for your clothing, your food,
Mhm.
and your shelter.
Yeah, and
So the
any
fact-
other supplies.
Dependent.
So the fact that the inspector has to go to the quartermaster, what more do we need to prove that you're in the military occupation?
If it ain't plain as day now, I don't know what to tell you.
Hold on. So what do we call what sounds like the quartermaster today when we were reading treaties in our first 5 to 6? What do we call that? How can we kind of relate the quartermaster to who we were first reading in our treaties?
I see what you're saying.
It was the Department of Indian Affairs.
Right. The
Everything-
translator, the what?
Got
what?
you.
Oh,
The
right.
agents.
Right, the
Agents.
agent.
Agents.
So now
Right.
that we're moving forward, they're giving it now we're documenting this. So yeah, now you're the quartermaster. The agent is the quartermaster. Okay, I got it.
Great connection there. Great connection.
Wow.
Who wants to pick up here on section 4?
You said
Anybody? I can
4?
forget you.
I got it. Right here.
Whenever.
Yeah, I see 4 and then 5 below it. All right. So whenever a Negro has enlisted in the military service of the United States, I'm glad I read this first because that'll be me. he may locate his family in any of or any one of the settlements at pleasure and required a homestead and all other rights and privileges of a settler as though present in person. Hold on, let me read it one more time. Whenever a Negro has enlisted in the military service of the United States, he may locate his family. So I'm gonna put my family to where I am in any one of the settlements at pleasure and acquired a homestead and all other rights and privileges of a settler through present in person. All right, so to me that sounds like now my brothers are reaching a breaking point. We're joining sounds like the US government right here. To fight back against whoever we're having differences with, and we're now claiming wherever we have moved off to wherever the agent or the what was the word we had for him?
Quartermaster.
The quartermaster. Now that the quartermaster has told me, hey, he's gonna be stationed here, and he allowed me to bring my family here. This is not a state I preserve in, and this is what I defend. So that's just what I take from it.
What's sticking out here is this other rights and privileges of a settler. And I got the legal definition of a settler, a person who, for the purpose of acquiring a preemption right, has gone upon the land in question and is actually resident there. So again, a person who, for the purpose of acquiring a preemption right, so I need to look up what that right is, has gone upon the land in question and is actually resident there.
I got a different definition, but I'm with you on that. My legal definition of settler is an early resident of a country or region. So what I'm hearing is, okay, Negro, you've been denationalized, because he's clearly saying Negro. If you're going to fight in our foreign military, we're going to make you equivalent to the peasant that we're importing from Europe.
Claim to stay here now.
Which you can see why that European peasant is going to have an issue with you, because you got equal status as him only because you're willing to fight for the United States government.
Now you see why it can come back and be like shit. Yeah, be treated like shit inside the military and outside.
Facts. And now you see the internal conflict that he created. You're thinking, oh, I'm coming off this boat. This is supposed to be for us. And now we got these Negroes in front of us acting like it's there. We don't know what. That's just my piece. My bad.
No. You're hitting on it. That's an internal conflict, because now you're equal to the settler, but guess what? You're no longer the American.
Yep.
He's made you equivalent to the peasant that's coming from you.
To a settler.
Right. They trading places on paper. Right, they're trading places. You hit it right on the head, Chief Black Coat. Right, they're literally trading. They're trading places with those of us that did not go into Oklahoma. This is the price that we're paying now. Their military is figuring out a way. How can we basically eat you spiritually? Yeah, I've said this in a previous week. It's almost like they're zipping you down the middle, and they're gonna put us on and zip back up and say, now we're the American and you're the Negro.
Correct.
That's what the European is doing. He's basically putting us on and saying, I'm you now.
Yep.
Damn.
Why they use that term, Negro, blacks, and yeah. Now you just hit the nail on the head right there. Okay, where we left off here.
In like manner.
I don't know if it's still there. Let me see. I'll go ahead and pick up. In like manner, Negroes may settle their families and engage on board the gunboats or in fishing or in the navigation of the inland waters without losing any claim to land or other advantages derived from this system. So it's saying basically here what I'm getting, anybody who is willing to enlist that had claimed land prior to this new settlement land that they're supposed to be getting will still have claim to that old land. That's how I'm reading here.
Well, he's basically, yeah, you're in their military, but you can only do two things. You can board the gunboats and you can fish. And you can only fish on the land, on the inland waters. You see what I'm saying? He only gave you two options. As a soldier, he's saying, you can shoot these weapons on these boats and your ass can fish on inland. What if you hunt?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say you can hunt. He said you can fish.
Mm-hmm.
And you relegated to rivers and lakes. Your ass can't go to the ocean.
They're saying you to cook.
Mm-mm-mm.
Okay.
What you got, Chief Quietwater?
I mean, yeah, it's just like they're honing in on them and putting more control over their head in regards to what they can do, not giving them many options under the guise of giving them options, but really restricting them from what they really can do.
Straight up military occupation.
Yeah.
They're around. But no one, unless an actual settler, as above defined, or unless absent on government service, will be entitled to claim any right to land or property in any settlement by virtue of these orders. So again, unless you're, what is this? Unless you're an actual settler defined by what they pretty much had up here in the beginning of this section 4, or absent on government service. So basically, I'm thinking that's like a deployment or active military, will be entitled to claim any land or property in any settlement in which you'll probably be going or venturing to.
Right. And remember now, if you're in their military at this time frame, you can only do one thing. And that's on board the gunboats. So that goes back to what we were saying earlier, how you were saying that they may use an American as the inspector. They're clearly defining. You join our military, only thing you can do is work that gunboat. That's it.
Wow.
Gunboat fishing on the navigation of inland. Yeah.
That pin game mean, ain't it?
Yeah, they're gonna write your ass into write you into submission. Let me see what we got. Yeah, we should be able to finish this off. Anybody want to jump on 5?
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
In order to carry out this system of settlement, a general officer will be detailed as inspector of settlements and plantations, whose duty it shall be to visit the settlements to regulate their police and general management, and who will furnish personally to each head of family, subject to the approval of the President of the United States, a possessory title in writing.
Stop right there. Let's look up possessory title, because we already looked up absolute. So what's the difference between an absolute title and a possessory title?
Possessory title is hold on. So possessory title is when a property is registered. Wait a minute. Thought I had it. Hold on. That's not it. I had it pulled up and now my computer is
I have that in my Black law.
Okay.
You got it there? Oh, I got it. You got it?
Nah, the closest thing
I
I
have it.
possessory claim.
So possessory title is when registration of a title was applied for, the applicant didn't have the right documents when registering the title to satisfy the threshold for absolute title. So
Gotcha.
So that would kind of be like a quick claim deed now, where you can't really go back like you could with the absolute title. This one, you don't have all the documents to prove who probably owned it before.
Basically like a temp title or something. or similar or not?
Well, it's really the opposite of an absolute title.
Gotcha. Okay.
That makes sense. And so here's how you can get screwed over, because she says subject to the approval of the commander-in-chief or president of the United States. So they're already going to regulate their police and general management. So let's say you get these inspectors with their military coming in your area where you've settled, and they knock on that door because they already know your license and they know who to ask for when they knock on the door. And they say, okay, where's your absolute title, boy? Now they already know they done burnt that town down that you in, so they know you ain't got no record. So, hey, where your absolute title? Well, I've already applied with your president to get those documents back. They could say, so you don't have anything on you, boy? Now they can move you off the land.
I love
And it's kind of like they use what they call adverse possession. And adverse possession is when someone can basically take claim to your title. If they use, if they can take claim to your land, if they, for a certain period of time, if they use it openly. So the possessory title and like adverse possession kind of go hand in hand.
Presenting two new ideas at once.
Have you just general question, Chief Quietwater, have you ever seen an absolute title?
An absolute title? Well, yeah, that would be that would be what is transferred from one buyer to another buyer.
Meaning you own it now?
That can be traced back
Meaning you own it now?
Right. An absolute title is a title that can be traced back to the previous owner, basically, is what that is.
And it says it doesn't say certificate of title across the top. It said absolute title.
No, it does not say absolute title in today's terms. No, it doesn't. To answer your question, no, I've never seen an absolute title. No.
Okay. So if you've never seen an absolute title, then the question is, where are they? Because they're using that language in this document. So that means that piece of paper would have to have that heading on it. Just like today's world, it would say certificate of title. There's an absolute title. So it's almost like they have the absolute title secured somewhere in a fort, and they're just issuing off derivatives of that absolute title, which is certificate of title.
Beautiful seeing how the European works.
Yeah.
It's deliberate. It's very strategic at all times.
Yeah.
Don't you ever get caught slipping.
Because here we go. You can't do eminent domain if you have absolute title.
Absolute.
You follow me?
I think the language has just changed because, now it's called warranty deed, meaning, which has really the same meaning as absolute title. So
it kind of makes sense because there's a warranty.
A deed can't be, we understand they're wordsmiths. A deed can't be a title.
Okay.
So if you got the absolute title, then nothing supersedes that. So my question is solving that problem. Where are the absolute titles? Because the general is clearly saying there are absolute titles. So the absolute title would be the ground floor, like gold and silver.
That's probably you think that would be in the land records that you can search? No,
I would say that's going to be like a Fort Knox. Okay, let's take Fort Knox, for example. Fort Knox is where the absolute money is, gold and silver.
Okay.
But but what they're going to give you is fiat, which is promissory notes.
You understand that when you're under military occupation, everything gonna be up under that department, whichever department it falls up under.
Right. So they have those absolute title records somewhere. And what they do is they say, yeah, you got certificate of title, but no, absolute title. No, we have possession of that. Right.
Nigga, no. Nigga, you got 17 billion to buy from him. Or whatever it is, who cares? But yeah, no, Chief Alligator said it. You own nothing, control everything.
Okay.
Chief Alligator again.
Where did I leave off?
Possessory title in writing.
Okay. Giving as near as possible the description of boundaries and who shall adjust all claims or conflicts that may arise under the same, subject to the like approval, treating such titles altogether as possessory. So they're saying they're treating all the titles as possessory titles. Let me see.
Like, yeah.
Writing given as near as much possible the description of the boundaries and who shall adjust all claims or conflicts that may arise.
Wonder what
Treating like
possessory
such titles
title
altogether
means.
as. It sounds like they're treating all the titles as possessory titles.
Okay,
As far
and the
as-
only way they can do that is because they have possession of the absolute. So what the military is saying is everybody gets possessory at this point.
Okay,
So,
right.
so to go back to like World War II, for example,
Mhm.
when a nation gets conquered by another nation, what would be the booty and prize would be what you just read, absolute title, the absolute money, the gold and silver. You see what I'm saying? You would have to give all that up because now you've been conquered. So what they're doing as they conquer these confederacies within these tribes on this land, that's why they have a Fort Knox. See, here's where the lie comes in from the Europeans. He claims Fort Knox when really it's our great-grandparents' money. But you don't know because you've been indoctrinated through school. So when they show you their military officers, i.e. their presidents, you're looking up to them growing up like, yeah, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, those aren't your family's leaders. So they have all our belongings in Kentucky in Fort Knox. That's just one fort that we know about where they house the gold and silver. They give you niggas fiat, and nigga is a colorless statement because they got their own settler peasants dealing in fiat, just like they got niggas dealing in fiat. But the real money to pay off debt, you niggas don't get access to that.
Yeah, it transcends, like you said, any skin tones.
You don't have the absolute title.
Which goes not to jump forward, but that goes back to 1971, the Gold Standard Act. They never budgeted for us to be citizens. So after the 1960 Civil Rights Act, the United States government is like, we can't account for these people. You know what? Take the money out the system.
Right.
See, it was money in the system as long as it was them being citizens.
Right.
When you had to add
A
these,
lot of money.
when you had to add these Negroes in, they said, you know what? Separate the dollar and gold relationship and just give these people promissory notes.
Yep.
Mm.
Same thing here. What's it say? Possessory title, basically. We don't keep the whole thing. We gonna keep the absolute. Y'all can get these derivatives and
By
stuff.
this time, it sounds like they understand they have dominance to just because to just persuade this group that we're military occupying. Again, we're coming off boats. You coming onto the land, and now you ain't talking about what we was talking about. It sounds like a lot of lying going on. Just a lot of lying.
Yeah.
I'll go one step further, just to build on what you said, Chief Blackcoat. Let's say that they killed the chiefs in the Creek Confederacy, the thinkers, the business people, right?
The ones with a word, right?
The ones that knew and understood business language. Now they're contracting with Indians or the citizens up under the chief. And so they got the language where the chief would be able to look and be like, hell no.
That G Pico.
Right.
It's on you, Chief Firewater.
Okay. The same general officer will also be charged with the enlistment and organization of Negro recruits and protecting their interests while so absent from their settlements, and will be governed by the rules and regulations prescribed by the War Department for such purposes.
Drop a bomb. We just proved. What department is this shit coming from up under?
The War Department.
The War Department. This shit ain't got nothing to do with Congress. This shit ain't got nothing to do with
military occupation.
And department is what too? The Freedmen's Bureau came under what?
So right, the War Department.
War Department.
So let's go back to what Chief Quietwater just read earlier. So yeah, now we know the absolute titles are being held in what? The War Department.
The War Department.
That's where the real titles are.
Damn.
Wow.
And
The
that's just
banks,
true.
the banks are holding the certificates of the
Mm.
titles, the
Because
deeds.
whoever buy one, get one.
Right. So going back to what Chief Quietwater saying, the quick deeds and all of these derivatives of the absolute title, yeah, the banks will give that shit out, but our ancestors that actually occupied the land, that shit's in the War Department.
War
Wow.
Department.
You gonna have to bring your tanks to
I
come
wanna,
get that shit.
Come get it.
I want to just read I
She
want to
probably
read
gotta
the
get-
legal definition of that warranty deed real quick.
Okay.
And it just highlights exactly what you all just said. Deed in which grantor warrants goods, clear title, a deed which explicitly contains covenants concerning the quality of title it conveys. In some state statutes impute warranties or covenants from the use of specific words such as grant. The usual covenants of titles of title are warranties of season, quiet enjoyment, right to convey, freedom from encumbrances, and defense of title as to all claims. So again, what really stuck out to me was that right to convey. Yeah, we'll give you the right to
Mhm.
occupy this land, but we still have that absolute title.
Go
So it's
back in that definition where you read
On that.
statute. You said something about statute.
In some states, statutes impute warranties or covenants from the use of specific words such as grant.
Okay, stop right there.
Hmm.
A statute is not law under their government.
Correct.
Treaty is law.
Mhm.
So here again, when you start talking statute, you're talking a derivative of law. It's not the absolute title.
Fact.
That's a fact, right? That's like going by the state of Georgia's OCGA.
Mhm.
That's statutory. Yeah,
Yeah,
that ain't the
that's what I
law.
wanted to
That
say,
ain't got nothing to
yeah.
do with the Georgia Constitution. We going back to the difference between a sheriff and a police officer. The sheriff swears to the Constitution. The police swear to the statutory law. So you just read it in that definition. A deed and absolute title, two different branches of one's legal, one's lawful.
And we're bringing the European language over to the land. So when they're doing this, it's on purpose. And that's
Mhm.
why I like when Chief Alligator break it down. It's on purpose. When they say absolute, that's mine.
Right.
Right.
What is
But
it?
I give you a title.
Absolute monarchy. These
You can have
terms,
the title.
these been indoctrinated in their lineage for a minute.
And they playing with us. They
I just
playing
thought
with
about
us.
something. I just thought about something when Chief Biko showed the map of the War Departments. You got a War Department East, you got a War Department West, a War Department in Texas. I'm willing to bet that wherever that War Department East is, that's where all the absolute titles for everything from Maine all the way down to Florida.
Right. They didn't know what else was west of the Mississippi.
Right.
It's
Yep.
the start of it. It's the start of it. Come back to me.
You with me? What you on about, Chief Quietwater? What click?
No, what he
You
just
with
said.
What?
They didn't know about anything west of the
didn't
Mississippi. So
know.
yeah, right.
So yeah, this is the beginning of all of the accountability. That's the word I'll use.
Let's do that last little section. My bad, I ain't stop your bill, Chief Black Hope.
We could go ahead. And
No. Chief Biko, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brigadier General Brigadier General R. Saxton is hereby appointed Inspector of Settlements and Plantations and will at once enter on the performance of his duties. No change is intended or desired in the settlement now on Beaufort Island, nor will any rights to property the hereunto acquired be affected thereby, by order of Major General W.T. Sherman.
So what is a Brigadier General?
Hmm.
Chief Black Hope.
So a brigadier, so your brigadier general will be your brigades. Brigadier, brigade.
Gotcha.
What's a brigade?
So brigade is, let me get my mind right. It's been a minute. So you have platoons, companies, brigades, battalions, units. All right. So your brigade would be everything that makes up of your entire units. So you have squads, units, companies, brigades. So your brigade is A-Co, B-Co, C-Co, and then the extras, whoever do the paperwork. So you got 3 infantry brigades. That makes up your battalion.
Okay, so you got a lot of bodies. Under a brigade is where you get your mass bodies. Got you. So we basically, do you have that map of the War Department that you can pull up real quick?
Yeah. Pull this up.
Boom, military map.
And that's a great map to
Boom.
always go back to.
So military department of the East. Now, wherever that department is, that's where your absolute titles are going to be. I'm going to go a step further and say that's where all your gold and silver for that area will be held. You follow me? There's a fort somewhere on this under this military department of the East where all those vital records and resources are occupied. Just like in the Department of the West, we know Fort Knox is in the military department of the West because that's Kentucky. You with me? If you ever been to Kentucky, it shows on the sign. You know, you're getting close to Fort Knox.
Right.
There's I'm willing to bet each military department has a fort where all that shit is.
For sure.
I know traveling to Ohio, because you know you have to go through Knoxville. It's like red signs. Like if you take a exit, there's explosives. Like you can't go in certain areas on the highway. Going through Knoxville.
I just want to say we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, y'all. The information we're presenting is beautiful. Yeah, that's where it's at. Do you have an army to come get this?
Right.
Yep.
And it's so crazy because not bringing up Chief Quietwater specifically, but when you talk to the average U.S. citizen, how we believe that fiat is money, we've been so far removed. We don't know that gold and silver is the only thing can pay off debt. And we don't know that when we purchase things, we should be getting the absolute title. See, we've been pushed into we're in second dimension of reality. So let me walk it through real quick. First dimension would be gold and silver and absolute title. Second dimension would be fiat and certificate of title. Now they're pushing in a third dimension, which is Bitcoin and NFTs. You're 3 dimensions off.
Facts from where you
what actually the actual it tells you gold and silver is the only thing that can pay off a debt. So it makes sense why you get a certificate of title. You never paid off the debt. If you didn't use gold and silver, you don't own it.
We trying to deal with their third cousin, second removed.
It's 3D, right? You can never get the absolute title paying with fiat or writing a check. Why? You didn't pay in gold and silver. And they're thinking that you're not smart enough. If you're smart enough to outsmart their brainwashing, because you're not supposed to figure out that you got to take a percentage of your fiat and convert it into gold and silver.
Right.
You're supposed to be in Bitcoin or debit cards or credit cards or fiat.
Later on.
But the real wealth to own it, you ain't. Come on, y'all. What you thinking, Chief Quietwater? You over there? You in thought?
Oh no, I was looking at something. No, I'm on board with you.
What y'all got to say about that? Chief Biko reads it every week.
I'm laughing at Chief exactly. I'm laughing at Chief Alligator. Yo, you're looking at the Ukraine war right now. Oh shit! How could they get all this money? Because it's make believe. They can print it all day.
Right.
How much gold and silver do you got to pay this shit off that you trying to reclaim in your land?
Right.
This make believe what we do over here. Start worrying about that, American. You off track. You can get it back. Pay me it though, because I took it from you. You ain't got no military. So stop talking.
So it's Debo. That's my
Where your
bite.
money at? Where
That's
your
my
money
bite.
at? You see what we doing on Fox News? Yeah, we got the bread, nigga. We don't
Look,
care about the bread. Can you pay it back? We're not going back to peasantry. We're not. It's over with. We can forget about who the European used to be and learning how to be a human from the Moor or whoever claims to, progress the European, however they were. But as far as America, when you reach this landmass on a boat, nigga, we got this shit with gold and silver, and you over here playing with fiat, talking about reparations.
right. So that's almost like a Negro to bring up the movie Stir Crazy. I'm just gonna throw this in there. So the Negro got a cigarette, right? And the Negro done fucked around and struck the match off the European chest. He like, oh shit. Oh,
watch
it. Oh man.
You're gonna have to get your big boy shoes. You gotta get your big boy shoes on.
I've never seen that movie, but from the clip we shared from our group, because this is a group. Fuck what everybody else talking about. This is a group. I was like, Chief Alligator always drops some weird shit. But it always got a point. I gotta go watch it.
Yeah,
watch
now
the
that we
whole
know it's
movie,
no
though.
money, that's almost like now that we know it's no money, it's like you want to
We
go
don't
to the
white
government.
white man.
And you got this big ass government swole up with his military. Now you trying to strike the motherfucking match off his chest. You're like, oh shit.
It's for real. Yeah, it's for real. Get in order. That's and I just want to, Chief Biko, I know we probably got a build and we in the line. We try to do shit in order.
No,
but
we
Chief
good.
Black
We
Coat
finished
fucking
that.
up for a second.
We finished that shit.
Yeah,
Right.
we're down with that.
We done.
When we move forward, it's just really on about just us helping each other out. Like, let's stop being confused. You're American.
Right.
Stop the rest of it. Somebody came in and wrote a bunch of stuff on black and white, and now you're confused. It's okay. Let the information go. You ain't never been an African in your life, and you probably don't have an ancestor that been.
Man, these folks want to be binary codes. They want to be B1. Like you in Star Wars, C-3PO.
And
like, come on, y'all.
And if there is a one, then cool. Let that one be who it is.
Right.
Let it be who it is. We do the inventor every week.
Mm-hmm.
Let the one be who it is. Don't push back too much. But if there's pushback, whatever, you could be the one too. But can we understand what's going on?
I'll keep it from a spiritual standpoint. What makes you my Lord? Why is it that everything you say is the law? Who made you my master?
Right.
Yeah, who gave you the right to call me an Afro-American? Who gave you the right to call me color? What makes you think that you can come over here and just tell me who the fuck I am? That's the arrogance of the what do you call it? It's past that. This is a mental sickness. What do you call somebody that wants to be something that they're really not? Like every European can never be the American. And every time I hear him use the word, it's like, wow, you're just loud with a straight face. You're not the American. You can't be
right.
the
Identity crisis. Yeah.
Everybody.
Identity crisis.
Everybody.
Yep.
And
facts.
That's why I always be on Twitter. I don't care to talk about nothing else. All I talk about is the code. Can we get a code? These niggas on the greatest code I've ever seen in my life. If there was a code, they are the definition of.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know you're not from here, and you making us think we on the internet fighting on who we are.
And motherfuckers
walking around like we
straight off the boat saying, yeah, my great grandpa fought in the Civil War as a Confederate. You not a Confederate.
Right.
Fuck out of here. That's why I was on one today, y'all, in them chats. But
so guess what we do next week, y'all?
Oh yeah, we gonna have the conversation with our family.
1866 Indian Treaty. So So this will be the third document in 1866. We got the Freedmen's Bureau Act, we got the Civil Rights Act, and now we're going to do the 1866 Indian Treaty. And we're still looking for our entry point as a citizen. What this document showed, Special Order number 15, was that you were the equivalent of a settler only if you fought in their military.
Right.
Still didn't say nothing about you being a citizen. Still didn't say nothing about you being a citizen.
Like you said, only.
Right.
Now, if you come fight with us, cool. What's up?
And you can only fight off a ship, off a gunboat.
Right. And you go live in them projects too.
Mm.
Or the ghetto, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Black man. We see, yeah.
And go check in with that inspector too.
Mm.
So we can give you a license and account for where your ass at.
Yep.
Yeah. And then if the quartermaster doesn't approve to get resources to you, which the president got to give, you could be waiting for 2 years, waiting on your resource. You're like, damn, I filed the paperwork 2 years ago to get some. Well, we're still waiting on the commander in chief. You see how the game go?
The quartermaster now sounds like exactly what it was. We kind of downplayed the quartermaster word. Quartermaster, yeah.
He's the
Now you're
quartermaster.
that word. That's what I wanted to bring up. The master part. I get what chief or what the general want me to do.
Right.
And
I'm gonna run you niggas. I'm gonna manage you niggas. I'm gonna police you niggas, and anything you need got to come through me.
I'm the quartermaster.
So who's to say that the quartermaster don't have absolute titles?
That's who it is.
The quartermaster could have been sitting on your absolute titles. So when you hear Moores,
he's approving it.
When you hear Moores talking about a allodial title, right? Because I've heard that language before, allodial title, but there's no definition for it in my legal, and maybe I don't have an old enough Black's law, but all of us could look up absolute title, and that's what this general said.
Right.
Absolute title. So we learned something today, and hopefully anybody who watches this video, those that do them records and follow them, follow those land records, look into absolute title. That shit's under the War Department though, so you ain't gonna be able to access that. I'm willing to bet you can't access. Yeah, you can't access some absolute titles. That shit under the War Department.
Yeah, they ain't giving up them in no regular military records.
Because it'll have too much information, too much good information. First names, last names, where you was from, what land, part, and city we was in.
It'll highlight the military occupation, man.
Right.
It'll just be the military occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so beautiful what we're saying right now, because it's going, the word will get out. Yeah, the military got the records.
Right.
The museums are cool.
Right.
Ancestry is cool. How can you get what's for real?
Yeah.
And that's why what's so special what we do, and that's why I respect it so much. This is government's documents. We're not reading fairy tales.
Right. Not making stuff up and pulling it out the sky.
We're really not. Shout out Cheap Alligator, but we're not reading fairy tales. We're really not. If you make it this far in the video and you don't get it, keep researching. But the people that do get it, we're not man, come on, man.